Good morning, everybody. It's Rita Smith. I'm here today to talk about and show you how to peel and work with avocados, which are nutritious and delicious and a key ingredient in guacamole and certain salads, green goddess salad dressing. I don't actually know anybody that doesn't like an avocado. In fact, in some parts of the world, they're one of the first foods that babies eat. They're very mild and have quite a bit of fat in them, actually. Compared to other fruits, but we throw all that to the wayside when we're piling it on, beef tacos. Anyway, topped with cheese. The avocado is the least of the problem in the mix. They're relatively low calorie and nutritious, and absolutely a great addition to anything that you're cooking. What you want to know about avocados is how old they are when you buy them is going to make a big difference in how you use them and how many of them you can buy. For example, this is a brand new Del Monte avocado. Well, brand new to me. I just bought it on Pape Avenue yesterday. It's almost hard as a rock. And so I'm going to peel it and slice it. And that is the kind of avocado that you want to slice onto sandwiches, dice into salads, use on a plate where you want people to actually see the avocado. That's a full price avocado at $1.49. Over here, in the very same store where I buy this brand new Del Monte avocado, are the slightly older, few days old avocados. Let's see if I can put it. Few days old avocados, which, as you can see, they've shrunk quite a bit. They've lost a bit of moisture over the last few days. They're soft. I can almost like squish it with my hand, put my finger into it. As you'll see when I start to slice them, it gets a bit messy. But I got all of these for $4. As a matter of fact, in one of the bargain baskets that I bought, there was 5 avocados. They're marking them down because they're older. They want to move them out of the store. If you're making guacamole today, you must have an old soft avocado. By old, I mean it's been in the store for about 5 days. If you're making guacamole today, you need to have a slightly riper avocado, the squishy kind, because you can't use this for guacamole. So if you're making a dressing or a dip, you want the softer, older avocados. You don't want the expensive, hard as a rock avocado. So 5 of these cost me $1, and this costs $1.49. So that's $1.49 for an avocado versus 20 cents for an avocado. And that's fine, the price differential between the two if you want to spend more. However, if you're going to buy brand new avocados and leave them sit for 5 days so that they're soft enough to use in a dressing or a dip, why not just source out in your neighborhood somebody that marks their avocados down when they're super ripe and buy some. And I'll show you a little bit later in the video how you can use them. Avocado dips freeze really beautifully. They come out exactly the same as they went into the freezer. So if you score, which I did yesterday, all 4 baskets of the discount avocados because I spent $4. You can make dips for the freezer or dressings for the freezer to take out when guests are coming, and then you don't have to go spend a ton of money on avocados. It sometimes takes my breath away when I buy just a few of them and I get to the checkout counter and find out I've spent $10 on avocados. So I keep my eyes open. I have a great source here on Pape Avenue, and there's probably somewhere in your neighborhood. They tend to be small stores, small, street level stores, retail stores, as opposed to large grocery stores where once they get almost perfect for use, the grocery stores throw them away and won't sell them to you. It's heartbreaking. So momentarily, I'm going to peel the very ripe avocado so you can see the texture and the firmness of that. And then I'm going to peel some of these. That'll be squishy work. Squish it into a bowl and show you how to make some very quick dips using stuff that you probably have on hand in your house. And you can either eat it right away or you can freeze it, and there's some special advice for that. And you have really great avocado dips on hand immediately, exceedingly cheaply. 20 cents for one of these, $1.49 for one of these. So almost a seventh of the cost. I'll be back in one moment and we will start peeling avocados. Okay, so here we are with a brand new Del Monte avocado that I bought on Pape Avenue. I've got my sharp paring knife, and I am going to peel away the skin from our perfectly ripe avocado. And I'm going to remove the pit. Maybe one side I'll slice, the other side I'll dice, but just to give you a shot at This is pretty easy to peel. It's nice because the avocado is firm in your hand. I did wash everything first because even though the fruit is protected by a peel, the germs could get on your knife, get on your hands, then get on the fruit, and then get in your recipe, and you don't want that. So even though I'm peeling off a pretty thick layer of peel here, I did wash everything very thoroughly first. Okay, so there we're just about peeled. Whoops, a little, come on you. There we go. So that's a completely peeled, nice, fresh, firm avocado, and that is the kind of avocado that you would use in a salad or on a sandwich if you wanted sliced avocado. Sitting it down, I'm going to cut it in half. I have seen people use techniques on TV where they actually take a French knife and slam it into the pit while they're holding the avocado in their bare hand, and then they pull the pit out on the knife. That just, to me, looks like a recipe for injury. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to pop it out this way. Okay, there we go. We got it. Okay, and I'm going to save that, and I'll tell you why in a second, because there's actually a use for that. Okay, so there we have two pretty good size halves of an avocado. And if you wanted to, I should have grabbed a towel for my hands. If you wanted to dice it for salad, for instance, which we do very commonly in our family, if you wanted to dice it for a salad, you could cut it that way. There we go. You don't want to cut it too small because it'll get mushy on you. Okay, so there you go. That's a half of an avocado diced. Okay, and here, if you wanted to slice it, perhaps to put it on a sandwich, to garnish a plate, to accompany some chicken or some Mexican food, if you actually wanted to see the prettiness of the avocado, then you could just slice it like that. Lay it on the plate, spread it around, fan it out, whatever. But here is a pretty ripe avocado, both diced and sliced, okay? You don't want to mash this age of an avocado because it won't mash well, and it's a waste of a pretty avocado. So these are the ones, if you're going to spend $1.49, these are the ones that you're going to use in recipes where people actually see and bite into the avocado in their salad. So we're going to call that a firm avocado. Welcome back. So I've got my beautiful firm avocado all sliced up and arranged on a plate. And now I'm going to tackle the mushy avocados. And although they are cheaper and a little bit less pretty, they are actually far more valuable for dips and dressings. So this one has got some, you know what, I don't even consider those dark spots. They're all going to go into the bowl. By the time I'm done mixing it all together with the other ingredients, you won't even see that. I'm going to save a few of the pits, and I'll tell you why later. They actually have a very proper use. Okay, so now I'm wearing rubber gloves. It's not necessary to protect your hands as it is when you're dealing with hot peppers. You would have to protect your hands because you could get a chemical burn. There's no such problem as that with avocados. However, as soon as I finish this video, I have to leave for 2 different business meetings, and I would really like to not to have green goop underneath my fingernails while I'm showing my important presentations. So I'm wearing the gloves just to protect my hands from the mushiness of the very soft avocado. And that will make cleanup even easier for me. Okay, hopefully for you too. You don't want to go to a meeting with yucky hands. So as you can see, peeling these and accessing what's inside is pretty quick and easy. I'm going to use these for guacamole. In a few minutes, I'm going to teach you how to make really super quick and easy guacamole. I've never actually seen anybody else do this recipe, so I'm going to do it for you because guacamole in 2 steps, wow, it's like the fastest thing on earth. There's no need to be chopping garlic and tomatoes as you're waiting for company to come. So I will take a break here while I finish off this bowl of mushy avocados. Look at that. I don't even need a knife on that. And then the seed just pops right out, the pit. And I will be back when I've got this done and I'm ready to show you how to make guacamole. So there is our mushy avocado, as I call it, as compared to the really pretty, fresh, new avocado. Two completely different things, two completely different uses. This one's super cheap. This one's just relatively expensive. Only two other avocados. To most of food in life, $1.49 is not much. But there's a different use for each of them. They both have their place. Okay, the avocados are all peeled, and I've got a good, heavy, holy mackerel, good, heavy-sized bowl of avocado flesh for the $4, the whopping $4 that I spent on them. And if you've ever paid, I don't know, $7 or $8 for a tiny little container of avocado, of guacamole in the grocery store, you'll know that this is going to turn out to be a super bargain. Now, to mash the avocado, I'm going to use a KitchenAid stick mixer because it's fast and it's the best way that I know. However, not everybody has one, so there's lots of other things you could use. You could use a whip. A whip would do quite fine. It'll get clogged up and you'll need to bang it to clean it out, but that's fine. I also, when working with avocados, often use a pastry cutter. So if you have one of these on hand, oh my God, this one is 30 years old. Look at the dents in it. It's as old as my son David, I believe. You could use a pastry cutter, and that squishes the avocados, and especially if they're fairly firm, anything else that you want. And then I just use it to clean the bowl and whisk it all together. You could use a wooden spoon if that's all you got. Go for the gusto. You could use any of those three things, a whip, a wooden spoon, a pastry cutter, or who knows what else you have around the kitchen. And really all you're doing is mashing and blending, so it's not complicated. You don't need a stand mixer. However, I'm going to use a stand mixer because I have one, thanks to Johanna and Mel who bought it for me for Christmas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything, all the avocado flesh, into a much larger bowl because it is going to get mixed around, and I'm going to make two recipes now. I am going to make regular guacamole, and then I'm going to make a guacamole verde, which is made with my homemade green salsa verde. It's really delicious. It's got the flavors of cumin and a few other things that you don't find in most salsas, and it goes great with the avocados. So first off, I'm going to use my stand mixer to zero in on the thickest parts of the avocado. Oh, look, see it whipping already? Avocado has a kind of a natural ability to become super rich and creamy just on its own. It doesn't need mayonnaise, it doesn't need cream, it doesn't need anything except a bit of salt. But it will become very quickly, in a matter of about 45 seconds, a thick, creamy base for a dressing or a dip. Now, because this is completely raw, flashed of avocado, processed in no way at all, I'm going to add some salt to it because it will be a little bit bland without some salt. Got it. Okay. No wonder they use this for baby food in warm parts of the world, because look at the consistency. It's just perfect. A baby could swallow that with no problem, and there's nothing in there that's going to cause baby any dietary grief. As long as you've introduced it properly. Okay, so let's just say this is our giant bowl of mashed avocado. I'm going to take out half of it. I'm going to make two different dressings here. Okay, so whip out half of that. Nice and fluffy and mashed. I mean, it's a replacement for mayonnaise, actually. You could spread it on a sandwich and it would be just delicious, just like that. Just mashed avocado, that's all you need. Okay, but I'm gonna go one step further, and I'm gonna turn this into guacamole in one step. Watch this. Ha ha ha. Okay. I noticed some years ago that the ingredients in guacamole are virtually the exact same ingredients as in salsa, but with avocado added. So in salsa, there is tomato, there's garlic, there's onion, there's peppers, there's salt. Sometimes I put in coriander. I don't put lime in salsa. So tomatoes, garlic, onions, peppers, and salt, and then you add avocado. That is a recipe for guacamole. So a way that I found to use up open jars of salsa not necessarily, this is my own homemade, but you could. This is a great way to use up store-bought too, because once it's open, like at Christmas and New Year's when you open 7 jars of everything, and then a week later you're going, what am I going to do with all these open jars? Well, I'm going to suggest you use up some of your open salsa, and just when you can find mushy avocados, mash it all together, and that is guacamole. Okay, I serve this to my family. They see no difference between this and guacamole that I've slaved over chopping onions and tomatoes. And since I would be worrying about the salsa that's left in my fridge once it's opened anyway, I'm happy. And you can use store-bought salsa. It's actually in some ways even a little superior. Well, to my homemade is very, very thick. I cook it for 3 days and it's very, very thick. So the guacamole is going to be on the thicker side. However, you could just buy a jar at the grocery store. And it doesn't need to be exceedingly fancy because it's going to be blended with the avocado, and it's just lost in the avocado flavoring. There you go. So that is standard guacamole. I'm just going to taste it to make sure it has enough salt because I am actually going to freeze this for Pride weekend. It doesn't need any more salt. It's perfect. Okay, so if you can get some mushy avocados and you've got an open jar of salsa, maybe a tiny bit more salt. You've got an open jar of salsa in your fridge. Mix them together, and you've got guacamole. Now, in a second, I'm going to show you how to freeze this, but just to show a little bit of a variety, I can also mix other things with my avocado to make a different flavor of dressing. In this case, I'm going to use a green salsa. This is made from green tomatoes and onions and garlic, lots of garlic, and cumin. It has my family really loves the difference in the taste. The cumin comes through it. You could use this with Mexican or Indian food. They're both great. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to mix some in with my avocado, and I'm going to make a dressing that'll have a completely different flavor, a dressing, a dip. You could add a little bit of oil and make it a dressing, or you could add some mayonnaise, but with avocado you really don't need to. It's fat and fluffy enough on its own. So this is a guacamole verde made with a verde salsa. And again, I'm not opening new jars for this, but I am using jars that have been open in my fridge for a couple of weeks, and I want to move them along. Once they're opened, you don't like to keep them for too long. So I now have more than enough avocado and more than enough green salsa, just based on green tomatoes, super nutritious, packed full of vitamin C. Green tomatoes are absolutely one of my favorite tools to work with, or resources to work with. I have farmers pick them for me. Before I get to the farm, Hutchinson's in Burlington is great for this. They're on Walker's Line. I call ahead and I ask them to pick me some green tomatoes, and they pick them and leave them in the cooler, and at the appointed time I come and I pick them up, and that's all the work that it takes to get green tomatoes. Now, granted, it took me 3 years to find Hutchinson's, but if you can source in your neighborhood green tomatoes, and it does take some work. You got to stay away from the tourist traps, especially north of Toronto, where they will tell you what they're growing is local, and in fact they're shipping it in from Niagara. Just go to Niagara and find a farmer that you can call ahead. They'll pick strawberries for you. Call ahead, they'll pick green tomatoes for you. That looks really good, actually. I need to try that. Hold on just 1 second here. Make sure there's enough salt, because I am going to freeze this. I like that better than the red, actually. I will add a little bit of extra salt. Okay. Now, as I said, you could turn this into a salad dressing just by adding a bit of oil. Or you can, one of the things that I do for both the red and the green guacamoles is when I take them out of the freezer, I give them a quarter of a fresh lime, and maybe stir in a bit of fresh coriander if I've got that on hand or I've bought it specially, so that if I know company's coming, I take the guacamole out of the freezer, let it thaw, and then before I serve it, I put in a little fresh coriander and a squeeze of lime, and that just wakes the whole dip right up and gives it a kind of a freshness. People will never know that you pulled it out of your freezer, that's for sure. Okay, we're back. I've got my containers all labeled and organized. And here's a trick I've learned years ago from the Avocado Marketing Board of California, which is if you put an avocado pit in your serving dish of guacamole when you put it out, it will help what is in the bowl prevent from discoloring or simply turning darker. There's nothing wrong with the dip. If it does turn darker, however, it doesn't look as pretty, and your guests might wonder if, you know, why it's browning before their eyes, because avocados do that. So if you leave the pit from the avocado in the serving bowl, it will slow down the browning of the avocado. And what I do is I toss it into the container before I freeze, and then when I take the container out, the whole thing just comes out in one lump. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to fill my smallest containers first with green, or guacamole verde, I'm going to call it. All guacamole is green, but this one is actually made with green tomato salsa and cumin. Okay, I might have actually overfilled that one a little bit. You don't want to overfill your containers because they're going to expand in the freezer. If you're not freezing it, fill your boots. You can make them as full as you want, but you don't want to overfill it if you're going to freeze it because it'll pop the lid off. Okay, so that is going to give me 3 pretty good containers of salsa made with green tomatoes. Sorry, not salsa, guacamole made with green tomatoes. As you can see, our mushy avocados were just the perfect texture and consistency to make a really nice, fluffy, dippable guacamole. No chips will get harmed in the dipping of this guacamole. And I'm going to pop the lids on these and set them in the freezer for the next time a stampede of people is coming over, and I am able to be organized and whip out food that I've pre-made when I got the ingredients on sale at the minimal price that I could pay for them. Oops, there's no label on that one. I'll have to label that. At the minimal price that I could pay for them at my leisure. I do this when I have the time, not when I hear that we're having a surprise birthday party for someone. So these are going to go into the freezer. And now I will fill the red salsas, or the red guacamoles rather, excuse me. I'm using my terms almost interchangeably here, I shouldn't do that. Okay, so let me get that spatula, and I'm going to fill these containers. I'll give that one a wipe for the freezer. That's for if it's only a couple of people. And a little bit about portion size, actually, and the different sizes of the containers, because you want whatever you put out on the table to get used up completely so that no germs grow in it. Whatever goes out is not going back in the fridge. Once you put this out for your guests, at the end of the night, it is garbage. It goes in the garbage at the end of the cocktail hour or whatever, at the end of the beer on the patio. You don't put it out and then put it back in the fridge. You're really courting food poisoning if you do that. So because I am cooking in shifts lots of times for different sizes, different groups of people. Let's see if I can even these up a little bit. Especially on something like Pride Weekend where people are coming and going all weekend. I like to put out the smallest amount of dip that I can. While being hospitable, I can always put out more. But since what I have put out is going to go into the garbage, I like to put out as little as possible in each round, and then at the end of it, I just throw it away. Sorry. Ooh, that's really good. That's really good, actually. So, here's my red guacamole. It's very tasty, and the texture is so silky and smooth. It's going to be really good. Okay. Would like to fill those a little bit more, but anyway, I've got all those containers full. So these are all going in the freezer now. And I might not make guacamole again for 3 months. It might take me months to get back around to this, because I only do it when I can find the avocados nice and soft and mushy on sale. And to be truthful, I've gone in recently and looked on multiple occasions and was not able to find any. But then when I did find them in the middle of a business week, I grabbed as many of them as I could, and that's guacamole probably for, that'll take me through to August. It'll get me through Pride, it'll get me through Canada Day, it'll get me through July, And if I find a deal later, I might make something later. But for all intents and purposes, I don't need to do this again for many weeks and probably a few months. And if anybody calls me and says, I'm coming over and bringing some friends, we're celebrating something, I'm home for the weekend, whatever, then I've got it in the freezer and I just pop it out. So here we are at the end of about 30 minutes worth of work, top end. We've got 7 containers of guacamole for the freezer, and 1 sliced up pretty plate that I'm using as demo, but I'll eat that today, so that's all good too. The guacamole freezes perfectly. Each container has a pit in it, so it'll prevent it from discoloring when you take it out of the freezer. It's ready to go. It freezes excellently. And try it. If you're buying guacamole at the store and you know how much it costs, try looking for the mushy avocados in your neighborhood. Maybe your grocery store will even sell you some marked down. Sometimes if you ask the produce manager, they're happy to give you stuff. The very firm ones are great for slices and chunks for salad, and then the very mushy ones just turn into a kind of a natural mayonnaise spreadable fluffy whip that is perfect for guacamole. So these are going in the freezer to wait for party. And this I'm going to eat today. The $1.49 for this amount of avocado and $4 for all of the mushy avocados combined, which are the perfect age and the perfect texture for guacamole. Be confident in the kitchen. Try some things. It's super cheap, way cheaper than takeout. If you try it and it doesn't work out, just throw it out and start again. You'll learn. You'll burn some things, you'll mess up some things, but you'll learn, and there's no other way to learn how to cook other than to do it. So it's always good when you're using reasonably priced ingredients that you haven't overpaid for while you're figuring out your way around the kitchen. I wish you every luck and every confidence. It's Rita Smith, the #1 food fairy, saying goodbye and have a great week cooking.